Last time we talked about the basics of reading from a data file. And the data file, again, was data.txt. And we said that this is going to look like a space, 1 decimal point, 2, new line. So hit return key, a space, a 1, a new line, a space, and an EOF. And we showed the difference between the extraction operator and the use of the get function, or I'm going to start using the term method also with object-oriented programming associated with the stream object input values. Want to take a look at a little bit more complicated character processing. In conjunction with reading from this data file, data.txt. And again, the assumption is we're going to open up the file and then we're going to execute this chunk of code over here. So first time through, we're going to execute this chunk of code, and this is exactly what the stream looks like over here. Remember, when you open up the file for reading, you get a stream of characters. So this text file right here just becomes this long stream, and you have a pointer that points to the beginning of the stream. We're going to initialize count equals 0, and we're going to see exactly what happens when we process this code right here. So we'll set our count is 0 to start, and so while not input values.eof. So EOF is also a function or a method that's associated with the stream object input values, and it comes back and says whether EOF is true or not. Well, we haven't read anything, so right now input values.eof without this not is going to come back as false. We're not at the end of file. We haven't done anything that tells us we're at the end of file. And so this is going to be false, and not false is true. So we're going to come down here. We're going to read from the stream using our stream object input values into CH. And so CH initially, remember, this is the extraction operator. We're going to skip leading white space. We skip leading white space. We come up to 1. CH has a value of the character 1. And then we move the pointer into the stream. We increment count. So count now has a value of 1. And we come back up. Are we at the end of file? No, we're not at the end of file. Come back in, enter a value, and CH now is the decimal point. Move the stream, increment the counter. Counter's now 2. We at the end of file? No. So this is a character 2. Move stream operator, increment the count to 3. We at the end of file? No. Input values, so now we skip white space. Remember, last time we learned that new line is white space, space is white space, get to 1, and now CH has 1, and now we're at white space, and so count now has a value of 4. And now we come back up. Are we at the end of file? No, we're not at the end of file. So use the extraction operator, enter value into CH. Well, we've got white space, and we try and read past to the end of file, and there's nothing else to read. And so we're actually going to, at this point in time, when we're at the end of file, we're going to set the end of file. We're going to increment count. So our count now has a value of 5. And when we come back up, are we at the end of file? Yes, we did set the end of file. So this actually is true. Not true is false. We kick out, and the value of cout that's printed is 5. Now that might work a little bit differently than you thought it was going to work. Pretty cool. All right, let's make things a little bit more complicated. We're going to take a look at this chunk of code. We're going to assume that we just opened up this stream for reading. Pointers at the beginning. Now up here we use the extraction operator. Down here we're actually going to use the function or the method get that's associated with the stream object input values. And we're going to do the same thing over again. So count, we start out equal to 0, and ch is equal to, and so now again there is no EOF. So input values.get, now get is going to get each character in the stream. And so we're going to get the first character, which is a space, and I'm not going to put single quotes around this because it's going to take a while to get through this. So we get a space, and we move to the next position, increment count. Count now has a value of 1. We come back up to the top. We're not at the EOF, so get the next character, which is 1, and the next, well, we move the file pointer to the decimal point, and count is 2. We're not at the end of file, so we come back up. We get decimal point, move the pointer, increment the counter. We get, we're not at the end of file. We get the next character, which is 2. Move the pointer, increment the counter. Not at the end of file. Get the next one, new line. Move the pointer, increment the counter. Not at the end of file. Get the next one. We're to space. Move the pointer, increment count. Not at the end. We get a 1. Move the pointer, increment our counter to 7. Get the next one, which is new line. Move the pointer, increment the counter, 8. Get the next one, space. Move the pointer, increment the counter. Now we come back up. Now we haven't read past the end of file yet. So we come back up here, EOF is false, not false is true. Get the next character. Now we're going to set the EOF. And so this EOF flag gets set, nothing to get, but we're still inside the loop. We increment the counter to 10. We come back up, and now EOF is set to true, not true is false, and we go ahead and kick out of the loop. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and print a value of 10. Now you might ask yourself, I mean, up here we really thought, I mean, if we followed this through, we probably really thought that 4 is going to happen. You know, we don't really want, you know, this EOF. We don't want to come inside of this loop when EOF is true. Same thing down here. When EOF is true, we don't want to come inside of this. So what actually could we do? Well, interestingly enough, I'm going to show you a quick fix up here. So it's entirely possible to change this code right here, and instead of input values.eof, we could say input values. And C++ actually allows us to do something like this inside of this while. And then we're going to get rid of this statement right here. And so we're actually saying while input values, extraction operator ch. And trust me on this, if you follow this through, what's going to happen is when we get all the way to where count was equal to 4 and we're here, when we try and read into ch, that is going to set EOF to true. We're never going to come into this. We're never going to hit plus count when we get to EOF. And count in this case is going to be equal to 4. You got to run that through. You got to trust me on that. It works. Down here, interestingly enough, what can we do down here? Well, there's something called peak. So before we get into the while loop, that's right in between these two statements, we can say input values dot peak. And peak is a function associated with input values. That's plural. So this actually is going to check, am I at the end of file? First thing, if you are set EOF, you'll never get in here. Well, we're also going to have to put that code right here. So we're going to put this code in 2 places, once here and once here. And at the bottom, when we get down here, we're going to check, we're going to peek and see if we're at the end of file. And what's going to happen is this last time, we're not going to come into this loop. And in this particular case, count is going to be equal to 9. Again, you have to trust me on this. You got to look this code over. It's fairly complicated code, but very cool. Something I wish I would have known a long time ago. And finally, there's a neat function called getLine. And what getLine does is str, if we take a look at what str is an array. And so this is an array of 80 characters. And so what's going to happen with getLine is that getLine will read from the stream. So again, we're opening this up for the first time. We're going to read into str. So str is an array, str of 80 characters. So it's going to go and go and go and go, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on down to, we know the last one is going to be 79. And so this is going to read a max of up to actually 79 characters, because it's going to leave one for the new line, because remember, all strings are null terminated. And so this thing actually puts in a space, it puts in a 1, it puts in a dot, it puts in a new, and now, so each time this thing moved and moved and moved and moved until we got to a new line. So either we get to 79 characters or we get to the new line. And at that point, remember, all strings are null terminated, so what's going to happen is the null termination is actually placed, the new line is munched, and at that point, this stream pointer is pointing to this particular character right here, and str was filled in with this stream. Hope this is helpful. You're going to have to go over this several times to understand it. Fire in some code to whatever compiler you happen to be using, and I'll see you next time.